Hey, Eric.
Hey Adam, what's going on?
Well, I wanted to talk about one of the bigger stories that's hit the private markets in the last few weeks, which is the tokenization of private company shares.
Yep.
SpaceX, OpenAI, companies like this. Robinhood announced that for their non US customers, they'd be offering tokens that represent shares in these companies. And then the American investment platform, Republic, has been introducing these mirror tokens, which are meant to do the same thing, sort of mimic the performance of these private companies without actually offering shares of these companies. And Republic has offered, I think they're up to 8 mirror tokens, and there are 16 that are listed on their website that are coming. And so I think this is a pretty big
hmm
development in private markets because it's going to potentially allow retail investors access to these shares of these really, really desirable private companies that usually it's really difficult to get into. But I wanted to know what you thought about it.
Quick thought. I mean, and I agree. This is huge stuff if it works. How do you mimic the performance of the company without actually issuing shares in it?
I think that that's a really good question. I think that there's going to be something about whether or not people trust this process, that it actually is backed
hmm
by these shares. And the companies like OpenAI, Sam Altman came out and basically said, this is not buying shares. This is not, we don't
Right.
condone this, and we don't like this. So there is some risk there too that the companies themselves aren't going to play ball, I guess.
I mean, let's look at the demand side first, and then the supply. Like, clearly, the demand is there, right? People have seen SpaceX's chart that goes like this. They want that. They want the other companies are going to be the next ones like that. And there's plenty of AI companies that are showing similar trajectories. If you look at something like Destiny, right, it's a holding company, DXYZ, that holds a number of private companies that are in high demand. You see it trades at a premium, something like, I think, 6 times the NAV. So there's all this pent up demand because people see the potential results and they want to be a part of it. And that's, I think, is great. Like, it sucks that, you had to be a pension or a hedge fund or an endowment to participate in this market historically. And when people see that there's fewer and fewer, I think there's what, like 3,000 private public companies now. Like the opportunities in the public market seem to be fewer. Of course, people want to get on the earlier stages. So from a customer perspective, I think it's great. I would love to buy a token of SpaceX or be able to add $1 to my position or $100 to my position every week if I had that opportunity. Supply side's where it's trickier. I mean, somebody will get a bunch of shares of OpenAI, like this example you said. Then they'll sell an SPV into that. And then sometimes somebody else will sell an SPV into that, and there's fees. And so it's either a big setup fee or a management fee to just hold the stock, or there's another SPV underneath getting 2 and 20, and your SPV is getting 2 and 20. Or this is very common too, is that they'll just mark up the price. So if the price of
Yeah.
you know, Anduril was $40 a share at the last raise, I'm going to sell it for 50. So I don't have to talk about big fees and stuff, but I'm basically just charging you more than the thing costs. So these problems I think would be amplified when you're thinking about a token holder putting in $100 who really is buying a token into the way you describe it sounds like an ADR, like a tracking stock or a phantom stock that's not even really the company. And that's probably into an SPV that's also not a price maker. So there's just a lot of risk on what's
Yeah, and for these tokens, it may not reflect the actual market value of the company. The prices for the Republic tokens haven't even been set yet, and who knows where that price is going to be set. And then I think there's a year lockup, but when those shares or tokens become available to publicly trade, there's a chance that they could just be very divorced from reality in terms of what the valuation of these companies is.
I want to own SpaceX. I don't want to own I don't care what form that's in. But when you say the word token, it sounds like this thing's gonna be a little more liquid, a little more easy to transfer. If I want out, I can get out. But what does that actually look like? Is Robinhood going to have a deep secondary market for this stuff, or is it just going to be a token in name only, but you actually have to go through a bunch of hoops and wait a bunch of time and put redemption in just like a private fund would do? Because if I'm in that SPV, I can usually sell to someone else who wants to get in that SPV as long as we agree on price. In the token situation, we need to know what liquidity actually looks like.
You don't know exactly what is backing these tokens, and you don't know if there's real shares behind it or just these sort of, like you said, phantom shares. And so at the end of the day, when somebody holds till the end, and there's some sort of liquidity event, are they guaranteed to be paid out? It's
Yeah,
unclear.
I mean, you got to kick the tires on that. So if you're a Robinhood investor, you're either playing with some play money of, $30 to see how this feels, or you're really reading the disclosures carefully. Not a lot of people do that, but it's certainly merited in this case because there are going to be blowups on this and disappointments. You just want to make sure you're not in those. You're in the ones that do great. And on net, the fact that a little guy can buy a big company that's private is awesome.
Where do you think that this is going to go in the next year, in the next 3 years?
I mean, I think liquidity and more ability to have evergreen holdings among smaller investors is the arc of markets, and it's going to happen. So I think in 3 years, you will have more options to participate here. How will it be packaged? I think it will be packaged in more of a fund, like a 40 Act fund, like a mutual fund, like some of the products have done. Kathy Wood's tried one. Fundrise has done one. None of these products have been hugely successful, but they're interesting, and they're paving the way for whatever is to come next or wherever they're going to evolve. I'm open to tokens. I like tokens. I don't know exactly what a token lets me do other than, again, there's some enhanced liquidity, but I do think that 3 years from now, you will be able to buy more tokenized and just standard financial instruments in your brokerage account tied to private companies by a pretty significant factor from where we are today.
I think it's a very exciting thing. It's a very exciting time. And anything that opens up these markets for private companies like SpaceX, OpenAI, et cetera, is going to be very beneficial for investors.
Awesome. I'll see you in the market.
All right. Sounds good.